What is up? It is Regan, the Pink Demon, out and about on a lovely Sunday afternoon right now. You're probably wondering why I'm in my car. Well, I've had this idea, kicking around since the Tuesday, that everyone reviews new music. What about old music? And I don't mean like, old people music. I just mean like, you want to review music when it hits the shelves. What about the other end of the cycle? What about when that CD is hitting the bin? So, I've been out and about at the op shop today for a new segment I'm calling Last Chance to Dance, where I'm going to get albums from op shops, discarded, unloved. I'm going to give them one more chance, in my ears. And I'm trying to pick stuff that I don't know, or I'm familiar with the name, or just stuff that looks weird or cool, to give it, one last listen in a new audience. And either thumbs up or thumbs down. Did it belong in an op shop, or actually has that been rescued and given a loving home in my CD collection? So yeah, I've been to the op shop today, and gotta thank you, Savers. We love Savers. I'm just going to go through the whole bag here. I've got a collector's edition of Supreme Commander, which came with a pin with the logo on it, and the pin is still in the box. I checked that. I'm pretty stoked on that. I got some Batman story dice. I love the concept for story dice. I've never used them in any games, but just the idea of quickly rolling out an adventure framework and then building out your D&D adventure or whatever from that. Anyway, I just like them. I'm going to throw them in with all my other dice and never look at them again, probably. I got a Stephen King biography for my darling Connor, because I know he's a big fan of the King. Hail to the King, baby. And then, onto the music. Not for review, but for my own pleasure. Creed with Arms Wide Open. That's going in my collection. And then, I picked up 4. So, I don't know how often I'm going to do this. How often I'm going to release this. But this should at least hold out for a while to test the concept. We have one called My Friend. I actually don't know where the album name begins and the band name ends. It might be called My Friend the Chocolate Cake, and the album is called Brood. Or the band's called My Friend, and the album's called The Chocolate Cake Brood. I'm going to figure it out by the time I post this review up. Actually, there's a track called Brood. I'm going to guess that this is My Friend the Chocolate Cake, and the album is called Brood. I have never heard of this before. But the album art looked pretty wacky. It's got song names like Dance You Stupid Monster to My Soft Song, Song from Under the Floorboards, The Pram Sitters. So yeah, it looked weird. I'm giving it a shot. And then one that, most people who have ever heard a punk CD are probably familiar with Millencolin. I picked up Millencolin's Pennybridge Pioneers. I've never really dipped into Millencolin before, so this will be my first kind of large bit of exposure to them. And then I picked up 2 albums from the same band called Man with a Mission. One appears to be a self-titled, and one's called Mash Up the World. And they both have people in wolf masks on them. They were singing together. They weren't actually in the CD section. They were like with the glassware. So someone's clearly picked these up, got into the glassware, seen something more interesting, and abandoned these. Twice abandoned at an op shop. That is a devastating level of dejection. But I'm going to give them both one last shot. I'll probably do these 2 together. So anyway, that's going to be the segment. And right now, you're probably going to cut to me tackling the first one, because I'm not going to do all these together. I'll do them one by one. So you're either seeing this for the first time, or I'm going to do a little cut back, a little what's it called when you snap back to something, a little fade away thing. Fade back? Holy shit, I am blanking on this. I can probably cut around this, but I won't. I'll let you see how it all works. Anyway. Now back to the review. Thanks, Regan. Oh, what is... Wow. What an amazing and attractive guy. Couldn't have said it better myself. He did get a few things wrong though. Sorry, he's got a small correction for us. Let's just jump back to him. Flashback. The word I was looking for is flashback. Fuck. Thank you for that. The word I was looking for was flashback, and it's shameful that I forgot the word flashback. Maybe I'll have a lot of fadebacks to that moment. And he also lied because I have decided I'm just going to hit the op shops once a month, get a handful of CDs if I can, and do this as a little bit of a monthly roundup. So, without further ado, let's get into it. With the first one in the list, My Friend the Chocolate Cake is the band name, and Brood is the album from 1994. And I'll throw on the opening track, Dance, You Stupid Monster, to my soft song. Beautiful. And as you can probably hear already, this is not a rockin' or anything like that. Put just a little bit more Spotify in the mix. Just a pinch. So this is, according to their own listing on Wikipedia, chamber pop, and I think that's fairly accurate as a description for the genre. As you can hear, it's a lot of strings, it is chamber music, but as you get into the album, it's certainly not, traditional chamber music. It's not quite your string quartet, or even your apocalypticas. It is a beast of its own. And frankly, one so far out of my wheelhouse that I have very few cultural touch points to refer back to. The biggest name at times it reminds me of would be Mumford & Sons. But, in some small names, I get a bit of Trocadero and Jonathan Coulton, who did the Portal Still Alive song. I really like the vocalist. I hope he comes in soon. I find he holds a note really well, and he's got this real low, husky bass line, but can get quite dynamic as well. So it's a good mix. In terms of individual tracks, I really enjoyed Slow Way Down. I might actually cut to that because I think this is just an intro track. Slow Way to Go Down. So it does have a bit of percussion in there as well. And this is, I wrote down in my notes, a downer banger. And when I say downer bangers, I mean things like Turn the Page by Metallica. Real sad songs that you can sink your teeth into still. And just to keep drawing lines back to Trocadero, Heart with Wings would be another one. Just something that you could be moping to. This is a good moping track. And you can hear some of that vocal. If you're listening to the VOD and you don't have Spotify in the mix, I'm sorry, but I'm on track 8, if that helps. You can listen along. In full, though, the album, 18 songs, an hour and 5 minutes. That is a painful listen for something that I'm not particularly familiar with. I've many times said things along the lines of, brevity is the soul of wit. Shakespeare said that, I didn't say it original. But they are words I live by. There's probably material that could be cut for a more concise listen. There is also a weird track in here that, and the beautiful physical media is that I can actually check this. I didn't have the booklet on me when I wrote this note. But the song Bottom and the Rustics feels like a very uncanny reimagining of The Who's Bubba O'Reilly. And it is not listed as such. Very strangely. But I'll put it on. And you tell me if you can hear the connection. Because to me, and you have to be familiar with it, but to me, it's very much a bastardization, if you will. Yep, I've got the booklet here. They're claiming they wrote it all. Well, at least that song. But I don't quite believe it. Maybe they've subconsciously plagiarized it. Maybe they've deliberately bastardized it. But it almost feels like those wrestling remakes, if you know what I'm on about, where, when back in the old days, if WWE couldn't get the rights to a song, but they wanted to use it, they'd rewrite their own version of it. For the most egregious example, you can Google Diamond Dallas Page Self High Five, and if you can't pick what song that's meant to be, you might not have ears. Other than that, there's some really nice lyrics in there too. Along the concept of idle hands do the devil's work, which I really like. I hate getting bored. I do my worst things when I'm bored. One of the lyrics that really stuck out was, "There's nothing quite as harmful as a slow-moving day," and I was just like, oh, I wrote that down immediately. Not even for the review, just as a cool line to have in my mind. But yeah, this part here definitely reminds me of Bubba O'Reilly, as does the rest of the song. Other good songs on there. There's one called Yandoit. It's got a really cool intensity to it. And when you get that like chamber music paired up with that intensity, sense of urgency, all I can think of is Halo, the Halo soundtrack. So overall, My Friend the Chocolate Cake, for everything kind I did have to say about it, I'm not gonna lie, it's just completely so far detached from what I normally listen to that I don't think it has a place in my collection. So, Brood is going back to the op shop. But hey, if chamber pop is your thing, I'd definitely recommend this one. Now I'm going to go slightly out of order of how I pulled them out of the bag, because up next is Man with a Mission. Now, turns out this band is not a small, unknown band at all. They've got tracks on Spotify, going as high as 132 million listens. They are quite big in Japan, and if you're a weeb, if you watch anime, you have probably heard one of their songs. But this first one, self-titled Man with a Mission, was their debut album from 2011. I'm going to pull up their Wikipedia quickly, just so I can really show how likely it is that you have heard one of their songs. What was the band? Man with a Mission. And you might know of them if you have seen Demon Slayer, My Hero Academia, Godzilla vs. Kong, Vinland Saga, Inuyashiki, Mad Max Fury Road, Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans, Lost Planet Extreme Condition, the game, and that is just a slither of featured music that they've had. I'm trying to find the full list, but anyway, these guys have done so many works that have appeared in media, especially media coming out of Japan, that I'm actually shocked that I wasn't aware of the name. They've also done stuff with New Japan. They've done stuff with Street Fighter V, Pro Evolution Soccer. It is crazy just how much these guys have done. But, what are they like as an actual album? Well, so glad you asked. As you can hear, if you've got the Spotify going, really high energy J-rock. Japan rock, for those who aren't familiar.
Mixed with kind of that early 2000s Western hard rock influences. I get a lot of like Jet coming through their sound. And then some electronic like keys and mixed mixer elements as well. Kind of the Muse. But still definitely with those J-Rock style tropes, like the very melodic choruses. And as you see in a lot of Japanese music, the mixing of English and Japanese lyrics, you kind of follow it for a little bit, and then you fall off and you're like, wait, did I mishear that? No, it's actually just another language. But the entire album, except for the like ballads, the slow ballads, really constant toe-tapping, head-bopping music. It's kind of really hard to not just get in a bit of a groove with it. And while that does fall off in the later half, where it gets more J-rock ballady, it has just been an absolute pleasure to have this CD in my car, especially over the last week. School holidays, no traffic on the road when I'm driving to work. Real cruise in the car, window down, a bit of sunshine, a nice cool breeze. Music made for those moments. So, for its high energy, easy listenability, and just constant bop, Man with a Mission, self-titled, is staying with me. It has found a new home in my collection. But, the next year, they would release Mash Up the World. And we'll flick the music across to that one. There's a lot of release, like remix releases and stuff on their Spotify, so it's a bit hard to track the chronology of it. I believe this is the second album, but I wouldn't bet the house on it. So, a year later, Mash Up the World. It's kind of everything I love and everything I hate pulled even further out. When it goes to the rock songs, it's gone heavier. It's definitely now in the alt-rock, maybe eyeing off new metal with, a lot of record scratches and stuff. But not approaching new metal. A few people I saw online call it new metal. I could see why you would. I wouldn't. I would put it in alt-rock. Because it just doesn't quite have the happiness. But it does get into, like, rap segments. It does get into some good riff. The vocalist is... And it showed in the first album, but really comes out in the second album and beyond. He's got the ability to hold a note with... And I don't have the right music theory term for it. It's where I wish I had a Luke sitting here. But it's got this quality when he holds notes. It's very reminiscent of Ozzy Osbourne. Kind of like that in the chorus. I can't describe why, but it feels very Ozzy Osbourne, especially like later solo, like Scream era Ozzy Osbourne. And I really like that, because I really like that Ozzy album, and because of so close to the end of his career, we never really got more of that Ozzy. So now I found it elsewhere. But as I said, there's more of everything I loved and more of everything I hated. There's so much more ballad in this. And, like, the slow J-rock ballads. I get it. This band seems to be kind of made for writing themes and anime soundtracks and stuff. And that's what they're for. But that is the part that I don't like about it. And also, as a part of that, it suffers from song-too-long-itis. Where... the average song length creeping up to 4 minutes plus. Just really hard to say in love with the album when it's got more of those ballads and they're longer as well. So overall, I found a lot less to love with Mash Up the World than I did the first album. And I've been on the fence. I was listening to this in the office today on repeat, trying to decide whether it stays or where it goes. I like to keep them together. They're a set. They came together. I feel like I'm going to the vet, I'm picking up 2 kittens that were abandoned together, and I'm saying, I'm taking this kitten home, and this one can stay at the pound. And that's really upsetting. But space is very limited in that bookcase. We have just cleared out over 100 CDs. Well over 100 CDs. Well over 200 CDs from that bookcase. So, space is extremely limited. You gotta earn your spot there. Mash Up the World has not earned its spot, but the self-titled has. And really keen, like, now I get to follow this band. They actually just put out an EP this year. So it's always great to find a new love like that. And now, for an old love for many people, Millencolin, a household name in the punk scene, with their album, which I definitely put down somewhere, Pennybridge Pioneers. Which, looking at their Spotify, seems to be the album. Like, of their top 10 played songs, 5 of them are from this album. So, this is where it's at. Now, I'm actually, in the world of op shops, not unfamiliar with this album. I picked up a copy of their 2002 album Home From Home once, and when I got home, I opened the case, and instead of Home From Home, I had the single CD for the opening track of this album, No Cigar, that we're listening to right now. So I'm familiar with No Cigar because I had the single to it when I went and bought something different and got the wrong CD. But how does the whole album stack up? Is it as good as the opening track, or No Cigar? And sadly for me, it was No Cigar. I know I'm pissing in holy grails for a lot of punks right now, but there is, especially that era and scene of American punk, I find there's this like line of ones that kind of play it pretty straight face and ones that play it pretty tongue-in-cheek. And the tongue-in-cheeks are their contemporaries like NoFX, The Offspring, The Vandals, and you know, they're still addressing the same themes, but there's also just kind of, yes, I guess silliness to it, fun to it, sardonic wit to it, and that really attracts me to it because, I mean, when you look at the history of the genre and what they stand for and versus what they've achieved, punk's a bit of a joke. I like punk music, but you know, you've had a while to dismantle the system, guys, and it looks like anyone who had the power to do it just signed to a label or made their own label and exploited younger bands. So I think the system beat punk and continues to beat punk. So when people come and they take punk seriously, I'm just like, come on, guys, don't do that. Whereas when bands like NoFX, The Vandals, and The Offspring, and they have fun with it, and they don't take it too seriously, and they take the piss, and yeah, that's a true Australian value of taking the piss. Well, hey, let's not throw names out in chat, people, and let's not throw my address out in chat either. So, as much as I love this, the rest of the album, I just couldn't find my fun in it. There's also this vocal style. It's more of the American melodic punk vocal style. I think bands like Bad Religion and Pennywise have it as well. And I just can't grasp it when I'm compared to that Huntington Beach punk sound, which gave birth to Offspring, Vandals, Guttermouth. So it just falls on the side of like all the respect in the world to Millencolin, but it's just not for me. So unfortunately, some lucky punk is going to get a copy of Pennybridge Pioneers cheap because it's going back to the op shop. And that is the end to our... Not tongue-cheek, the song Fox. Yeah, and Fox is a good song, I will pay that. I also really liked... I liked Hellman as well. It's not that I didn't like anything in here, it's just that I didn't love it as a full album, so it's not sticking around as a full album in my collection. But yeah, that's my first episode done. I thought it was a really fun concept. I buy so much music from op shops that I would love to talk to it, and when I find a gem or when I find something new that I've been spinning very frequently, I'd love to just get online and be like, hey guys, this was really cool, check it out. This was really weird, check it out. This is a classic, check it out. And this album was here too. So, I'm real excited about doing more of these. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll probably do one a month. I've already bought the CDs for next month. There's a really funny one in there. Because of what it is, I haven't even listened to it yet. And there's also a band in there that I've really wanted to listen to and should have listened to already, and I finally picked up a CD. So I'm really excited for the next edition as well, and I'm really excited to keep this going, and, you know, different op shops, different, thank you, moderator. Yeah, different op shops. I'll hit up record stores and go through bargain bins. Anything that's cheap, that qualifies it for this stream.